And that's one thing that I'm struggling with talking to people who are new to the field because a lot of people, I don't know what ads they're seeing. They're like, oh, this is the easiest, quickest way to get rich.
You're going to be one of those people who go for 6 months, a year, and not get anything because you're not bettering yourself.
Fix the little mistakes that it costs a company thousands or millions of dollars.
With my coaching group, right? I'm building an actual app. You have the information, but right now it's really raw and you need to structure it.
Mass layoffs come, who are they gonna fire first? The people at the bottom who just have a very limited skill set.
Or they might go take a boot camp, but they don't connect with people who are actually working in the industry.
Hey, welcome back. For those who don't know you, introduce yourself, your channel, and a quick know about you.
Cool. So this is my second time hanging out with the test lead with Justin. I am Ralph, Tech Coach Ralph on YouTube. I am a senior QA engineer. Right now, I'm working in the video streaming, video production industry for like a sports company. And I am on YouTube. I do QA related content, technical content, as well as offer coaching for whoever needs it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get into it, but like I do tons of live streams about different technologies and stuff like that. So if you are interested in tech, QA, software development, infrastructure as code, cybersecurity, come hang out with me and we can have some fun.
Exactly. So if you're watching, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description box below. But he's the most consistent person I've ever seen on YouTube. Sometimes it's twice a day, sometimes it's 6, 7 times a week, and I'm like, damn, does he ever sleep? But consistency wins the game. So you guys are interested, go to his channel. But you mentioned coaching. Let's talk about mentorship and your thoughts, why you think it's important or maybe not important.
So when it comes to mentorship and coaching, I think what a lot of people lack is they'll go and take a course somewhere like, Udemy, Coursera, wherever, or they might go take a boot camp, but they don't connect with people who are actually working in the industry, who's going to give them insight and wisdom on like, all right, this is where you're at now. And like to be honest with them too, like this is where you're at now, and this is where you need to be in order to land that job that you want. So it's really getting someone who actually works in the field to help you and guide you and to tell you, hey, like you're not really there yet. So, and that's why you think people aren't really giving you a chance. You're getting your interviews and stuff like that because you just need a little bit more. You have the information, but right now it's really raw and you need to structure it in a way that's going to be, and there's other things you don't know too, like how to work in Scrum, how to use Jira, what's Agile, so getting you like telling you, okay, these are the areas that you need to go to because where you got your education is very pointed at exactly what you need, but like to do the job, but not to actually work.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of people have the textbook bare minimum. And they're like, well, how come I'm not getting a job? I have the skill set. But one, they don't know how to actually apply anything. They don't have that actual experience. And kind of a mentor helps bridge that gap, saying, yeah, I have this amount of years of experience. You have this knowledge, but how to actually apply it, do step one, two, and three.
Yeah, and one of the ways that like I try to help them get that knowledge when they are like when I'm coaching somebody, I actually put them into real real work, right? So I'm saying with my coaching group, right? I'm building an actual app, right? It's going to be web-based. Eventually, we're going to do mobile, right? And for the QA people that I have, I'm like, all right, we're going to go through. We have our Scrum nights every other Sunday night. 2 week sprints. They're using Jira, trying to get them to actually do their stand-ups. That's a challenge within itself. But like just going through the actual software development process that you do on the job and putting something out there. So now if you do get that interview, you say, oh yeah, I worked on this and it's live in production. It has users and, actually having some talking points instead of, oh, I created this thing in GitHub and just go look at it. And like, no one really cares about that.
Because as you said, there's one thing just saying, oh, this is a principle and just textbook stuff. But actually saying, oh, I built this, I ran through these problems, this is how I solved it. That shows you actually have experience and you just didn't memorize things. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people, even in regular university, They memorize something enough to pass a test and then forget about it. Move on to the next memorization. But actually understanding, they be able to apply certain topics or concepts. That's the key thing a lot of people kind of miss out on.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example too. I have a this college student. I think he's 20 years old that I'm coaching, and he's going to college for cybersecurity and trying to understand what they're teaching in like about Python and SQL in the college was like I'm having such a hard time understanding this. I'm like, well, let's do this, right? You're gonna continue doing everything you're learning in school, but take take this Udemy Python course, take this Udemy SQL course, and see if that's because a lot of times they teach a lot better on these courses online than they do in the classroom. I'm like, use that to help you pass your classes. And now he's like, oh yeah, this makes a lot more sense now that I have this additional resource, you know?
Exactly. And just speaking on that, like your video today on purpose, finding out why are you doing something, that kind of hits it on the head where why am I learning Python? Okay, now that I know a reason behind it, I'm a little more motivated. I can be more focused instead of and making sure that it's the personal achievement also, not just to appease somebody else. Because if you
Definitely.
do this and don't appease them, then you're all upset. But no, do it for yourself, your own benefit, and take it from there.
Yeah, like it's like what I was saying was like when you do it for yourself, there's gonna be tons of other people who benefit from it, right? And I think I gave the example of Terraform when so a lot of the Terraform work that I've been doing the past few weeks was the app that like my coaching group is building, getting that into Terraform into infrastructure as code, and that like figuring that out helps me like a lot because I now understand I really understand a lot about Terraform right now. But now everyone else gets the benefit from saying, okay, this is like all the struggles that you went through learning it and stuff like that, which I don't expect anybody to watch like every single one of those videos, but you can just pop into one of them and see, oh wow, like this is very challenging because a lot of times you hear like, oh yeah, go into this. It's like, you know, 3 months and you'll be good to go. And it's like now you actually start writing through code, you're like, why isn't this working? And that's the part you need to understand. Like, okay, when it's not working, how do I get it to work? And that's the part that I want to fill the gap for helping people because it's not always going to be that happy path.
Exactly. In a perfect world, you just have the happy path, things always work as expected. But in reality, that doesn't happen. But speaking of you and your Terraform learning, first off, tell them about your Sunday Terraforms, publicize that part, and then we're gonna talk about trying to balance learning with the 9 to 5 job and other things.
So, so yeah, so on so I'll just tell you like the whole schedule, right? But on Sundays I work on Terraform. I once we get done with like so pretty much I signed up for a Udemy course to learn Terraform and I also got the DevOps course, right? So once I'm done with the Terraform, I'm gonna move straight into DevOps, set up a whole infrastructure in the Terraform code. A few times showed my AWS credentials that I had to go there and change, you know, but it's all about the process, all about learning. And so I was able to build out a whole infrastructure just from like in the Terraform language and just do Terraform apply, and then it builds everything up and then destroy it. It'll bring everything down. So that was a great learning experience. Like I said, we're going to move on to DevOps next. And then on in the mornings now, I stream like before I go to work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where I'm learning like Flutter development to build mobile apps. I already got an app in test mode in both app stores, so that was a fun thing to learn. Cost me a few hours of sleep, but it was fun. And then Tuesday nights, I do a Q&A show, just answering questions that people might have or questions that I find on the internet. And then Thursdays, I do a software exploration similar to Terraform, but it's more focused on like QA tools and other different tools that might come up. Like this past Thursday, I'm not sure when this is gonna air, but so that was today is Monday, but the like the week before I was working on Netflix Safe Test to try that out to see it's a new framework that the people at Netflix came up with where it does like you can do end-to-end testing with Playwright as well as it can do React component testing and some other stuff. So I was trying that out, seeing how that works, running into some roadblocks, but all we have to do is pick it up next week. So
Like I said, the most consistent person I know on YouTube. Anytime I log on, new video, new video. So with your 9 to 5, with YouTube, how do you balance learning? First off, why do you care still about learning? Let's take it from step one. You already have a job, you're already successful. Why do you care about learning still?
So the first reason is okay. The first reason, right? You hear about all these layoffs and stuff that are always happening, and then people are like, "Oh my God, I got laid off. I've been at this company for this amount of time and stuff like that." And I don't want to be in the position of being expendable, which, to a certain extent, everybody's expendable. But I'm like, hey, I'm going to gain as much knowledge as possible, and I'm going to be offer and be as valuable as possible to whoever I'm working with and whoever I'm working for. That forces me to continue to learn. I'm always volunteering for things on the job to say, all right, can I try doing this Terraform stuff? Can I try doing this Docker stuff? Whatever the case may be, because there's a segment that it's not necessarily software engineers work, or it's not necessarily Q engineers work. So we help each other out and we try to patch it together. So I'm like, hey, let me see how much I can learn so we can both contribute. And we work as a team and said, oh, this is not my job and that's not my job. And I'm only gonna do this. I'm like, I want to be involved in it all.
And that's the thing. A lot of people just try to do the bare minimum. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna do minimal work, try not to get fired, but then these mass layoffs come, who are they gonna fire first? The people at the bottom who just have a very limited skill set. But if you're versatile, know how to do this, know how to code, can use this tool, that tool. They're like, well, Justin, let's keep him around. He can do this job and that job. So the more skills you have, the more marketable you are in your company. And let's say you do get laid off. If you have an up-to-date skill set, you'll find a job in no time. That's if
Mm-hmm.
you have an up-to-date skill set. I know some people who get into a job and they get stuck with just doing what that job does. And let's say at my last job, everyone just did C Sharp, Microsoft tech stack. But now a lot of companies want Java and Python. And they're like, well, I don't know anything outside of Microsoft. I'm like, well, you gotta kind of learn. Like, some people just like, no, I'm be it forever. Jobs are safe, but I don't think safe is a real word in any job market at this point. So I
Yeah.
feel that just always trying to learn, even if it's a little bit a day, an hour a week, any little bit helps.
Yeah, when you think about it, now that you mentioned it, like an hour a day, if I add it together, like on Sundays, I might spend like 2 to 3 hours working on Terraform. And then like the mornings, it's like about an hour for the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I end up doing like 3 hours of different tools for each, like 3 hours of the mobile development, 3 hours of QA stuff, 3 hours of Terraform. And I'm just like, the way that I get it done is just to be able to live stream it and share it with everyone else. So answer people's questions and have some fun. It's like, and it's really fun in the process because it's like you have like the lights going and you're like the chat and stuff like that.
And that's the even like for my YouTube stuff, because I do my limited stuff, my day-to-day job. But there's other languages and tools that I don't get exposure to in day to day. So I'll say, okay, I'm curious about this tool. Let me research it, make a video about it, so I have a reason to make it, and then boom, I now have exposure to this. If I like it, I'll make more videos about it just for myself. Because it's one thing just studying it, but if you can actually present it to other people and teach it, you have a different understanding about it because you have to kind of break it down in a adjustable language. So the
Exactly.
people
Yeah.
who are new can actually grasp it as well.
Yeah, and that's like when I try to learn these things, I'm like, all right, now how can I? There's some stuff it's just really hard to make it understandable, but trying to make it understandable as possible to the people out there. But one thing that I always like recommend too is you gotta try it as well. Like seeing someone doing it is so different than actually getting your hands on and getting lost and getting stuck. Like one of the people that I was talking to, I said, "Oh yeah, go try." That was probably some Docker thing. I don't remember. And I said, "Oh, this is like over my head." I'm like, "It's only over your head because you haven't tried it yet, right?" Like once you get into it and like now it's like, oh, okay, I'm stuck here. Let me research that, or let me ask somebody, and then and now you get past that step, you just keep going.
And that's the thing, kind of like gamifying it, where Everybody grew up playing video games, trying to reach the next level, beat the next boss. Treat that same thing with your education, where okay, I'm trying to learn this today. I had this problem. This been countless nights where I stay up like, hey, I want to fix this before I go to sleep. Because if I try to go to sleep and not get this problem fixed, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I'm gonna be thinking about it in bed, like, hey, if I try this algorithm instead, maybe that can work. No, I'm gonna try to just fix it tonight. You gamify it. And once I finish it, I feel accomplished. Like, hey, get some dopamine. I'm good. So there's a
I I have a that I use that also as a strategy when I need to wake up early to do something. I'm like, let me leave it failing with a problem, so I can think about it all night and wake up early to go and fix it.
definitely motivation because I'll be like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to function until I get this solved. 'Cause I know I'm this close.
And you'll be mad about it too. I'm like, I'll go to sleep mad so I can wake up early.
And then once you actually find a problem, like, oh, that was it.
Hmm.
I was doing too much recursion. I was just my bracket was off. Something simple, but threw your whole program off. But that's all the fun and games of coding and using different tools.
Exactly, yeah. So let me answer the part about how do I find the time to do it, right? So really what I always advocate for is making use of your calendar. I use my Google Calendar all the time. Like when we schedule this, you just went to the link and all right, let me put some time on the clock, right? So I get some time. And that's pretty much how I schedule everything. And I'll tell you this, when I'm spending time with like when I want to go hang out with my family and stuff like that, because we'll do like some movie in the park thing or something. They have like some music thing in our city. I'll put it on the calendar for like 2, 3 hours. Like, hey, this because I can schedule stuff before it. I can schedule stuff after it. I schedule everything from the live streams. I have like my whole calendar, like the times that I work when I'm at, like on the clock at work, when I'm working on like my thumbnails, when I'm working on recording videos, when I go play basketball, when I sleep, everything is scheduled, right? And of course, it could be modified a little bit, but I have everything scheduled so that I can I can make the most use of my time.
I'm the same way. I still use pen and paper though, but I had to get the Google Calendar way because for other people to know my schedule, also the calendar helps a lot. Instead of me saying, hold on, let me go to my book real quick. Yeah, I'm not free today. But having a calendar say, hey, just book a slot, that's definitely a smart move.
Yeah, I just automate everything. I'm like let the like when people are booking their coaching calls with me, I'm like, all right, like even like for my top like for the people I'm actually coaching one-on-one, I have them in a Slack group, and every Monday I just send a reminder, hey, remember to book your coaching calls, whether you're doing 30 minutes or an hour, and they just go and they book, and then I get an email, I see it on my calendar, I'm like, cool, and I just go that way, but everything has to be scheduled. One of the Flutter or the mobile app that I'm working on in Flutter right now, I'm actually writing like my unit test and my widget test for it. It's the one that I ended up doing first was it's a time cost calculator, right? Where you put in like how much income you bring in a year, and it divides it by the total amount of hours in a year, and it tells you, all right, this is how much your an hour of your time based on the total hours in a year is worth. And then it's just like, okay, now what's the activity? How much time you're going to spend on this activity, right? So whatever the activity is, right? There's still a value to it. So he's like, oh, I'm going to spend 4 hours. So he says, okay, so that means this is how much it's going to be costing you of time, like, right? And just like it's just information at the end of the day. A lot of people like they're like, oh, it's not this, and I'm like, it's just information. Whatever you do with the information is yours, but it's just information.
It's helpful to have. It's not a Bible or anything to like, hey, I should cut off, but hey, I just spent 6 hours watching Netflix.
Hmm.
That's a lot of my time. I just cost myself a couple $100 there.
Exactly, so you like do like and like I tell people like, some stuff like it's worth it. Like for example, if going out to hang out with my family on a Saturday night cost me like $300, it might be worth it. But you can balance it. Oh, maybe I should do that like next week because I have this thing right now that's going to do this for us, right? So it's just about weighing like you're just weighing the costs and the benefits of doing what you're doing at the time.
And that's the thing, like actually seeing where you're allocating your time to, because people tell me that, oh, I have no time. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, what do you do in an average week? Well, today I hang out with my friends, and then I might go out and get some food, and then I'm gonna watch this new episode of this. I'm like, you do have time, but your priorities are your priorities. If you don't have learning as a priority, then you're not gonna do it. If you still prioritize certain things, that's good for you, but don't say you don't have time. You just don't have learning as a priority for you right now in your life.
Yeah, and that's what like everyone prioritizes what's important to them, right? That's the key to it. If it's important to you, then you're gonna like you. We all find time to do the stuff that matter to us.
And that's one thing that I'm struggling with talking to people who are new to the field, because a lot of people, I don't know what ads they're seeing. They're like, oh, this is the easiest, quickest way to get rich. And by next year, you'll be making six figures. And then when they come up to me saying, hey, Justin, like, how can I expedite my process? I'm like, well, first you have to learn the skill set. You can only expedite but so much. And then once you learn the skill set, become comfortable with it, start actually applying the tools and what you're learning, learn how to code. And they're like, wow, that seems like a lot of work. And I'm like, yeah. But everyone wants it just so easy and quick. They don't want the long game anymore. So how do you deal with these people hearing these false promises and then coming to you, looking for you to get a quick fix?
I mean, I tell them the truth at the end of the day, you know. It's like, and here's the thing. One of the good things about getting mentorship and coaching is they don't really have a reason to like sell you a dream because they're actually going through it every single day. And like I've come across people who are like I ask them like what happens when you get that call at 3 o'clock in the morning when pager duty is going off because there's something like you're the one on call and there's something going on at work and you need to wake up and fix it, right? Like, are you gonna be there? But you know, so like I was saying, the thing with the coaching is like it exposes because I've had a few people who I was coaching and then they disappeared because it exposes like the actual amount of work. Because the way I do, I'm like, hey, you're gonna work, right? You're going to work just because you're looking for a job, but why should they take a chance on you if you don't have like you don't know what you're getting into? So I'm like, let's do it for real. And now some people like they can't stay because it's just too much for them, you know. So like I'm just gonna share the truth with you. Like this is what it's gonna take, and I'll even give you like that experience to see if it's for you or not.
Exactly, because a lot of people don't understand that when you're new to the field, the companies have all the leverage. They can hire you or a million other people. So you have but so much to negotiate. People feel entitled sometimes that, oh, I went to this boot camp or this school that I should be guaranteed a job. Not in today, maybe 20 years ago, but not in today's world, because one is just so competitive. And two, even with like remote work and other offshore options, the competition is greater now. It used to be 10, 20 years ago, competition was your local area because you're only hired within the radius of people coming into work. But now with hybrid work, remote work, and companies just completely going offshore for certain departments, that competition is harder. So kind of want to do a bare minimum and still being compensated a crazy price for it, it's kind of unrealistic now.
Yeah, and even as low as like 3 to 4 years ago, going into a boot camp, you could probably land something. But now with the boot camps, with like the saturation of, let's say, software development, for instance, right? Or actually, let's use QA because it's even better example, right? I don't know about your company, but most companies that I've been at, it's probably a ratio of 4 to 5 developers per QA, right? And now you have a boot camp that is like they're just running through like training new QAs like every 6 to 8 weeks, right? So they are saturating the market with brand new QA people when honestly manual testing isn't that prominent anymore either, right? So now you have all these people coming out there like, oh, this and that. It's like, well, now the companies like raise the bar and say, okay, well, if we're gonna hire QA, they're gonna need to know at least some code, some automation. They don't have to like be able to be experts in writing it, but they need to know something. So it's they're not gonna the companies are not gonna lose, right?
Exactly. And that's the other part. A lot of the boot camps, like you said, even just 2, 3 years ago, when the market was less saturated, of course, anybody they put out was getting hired. And they kind of use those early people as, yeah, you're gonna follow in their footsteps. But 2, 3 years ago isn't today. As you said, it's more competitive. The bar is raised now because instead of it being 100 applicants, now we're getting 1,000 applicants. So now we can raise the bar. Instead of just requiring learning Jira and writing basic test cases. No, now you need to know how to actually write some code too, because the person over there said they write code for a cheaper price. So more competition for you. And just having that reality check with people doesn't go well a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, like, 'cause I'm not, I can't like lie to them because I like what like you're just gonna get even more frustrated. Now you're gonna be on the list of the people who misled them. So I'd rather you be mad at me now and thank me later instead of thank me now and be mad at me later.
Exactly. I had the same mindset where I'm like, hey, I don't know what Bob, Joe, or Sally told you, but in the real world, this is how it is. Whether you continue to work with me or do anything that I do, that's up to you. But I'm giving you the real honest truth. I don't, me making a quick buck off of you, hurting you in the long term is gonna hurt me more. Not only my reputation or something like that tarnished because I wanted a quick buck.
And I'm gonna make a case for these companies, right? Because it's always the big bad company, but hiring is super expensive, right? And if you hire the wrong person, it's like it's just bad all around because like when you're hiring, you have a lot of companies now they have recruiters, right? They have the hiring manager who's interviewing. You have like if someone's doing the technical interviews, right? Then you have the whole team interviewing. So imagine, and then now if you get the wrong person and they're like, "Oh, I'm not really, I don't feel like I'm really qualified for this," and then they quit, that's more than 10 grand that is going down the drain with all the hours wasted, all the people that you're filtering through. And then you make a decision on this person, and now like they don't want to oh, I wasn't qualified. And now you have to start the whole process over again. And that is one of the reasons that these companies they like it's entry level, but they want like 2 to 3 years of experience. Yeah, because entry level doesn't necessarily mean 0 years of experience. And then to be honest with these internships that from what I've seen, internships are primarily like internships within actual companies are primarily reserved for like a lot of times college students, right? Sometimes you can get an internship, but a lot of times like they're recruiting, like they're going to these colleges to look at who the computer science majors and stuff like that to give them those opportunities. So it's I'll say that it's tough to transition, right? From one career to another. Because when you think about it, if the company is traditionally requiring a computer science degree, even though I'll say that just because you have a computer science degree doesn't mean you know what to do in the IT industry and tech and stuff like that, right? But if the company's requiring it, you have to work 3, 4, 10 times as hard if you don't have it to prove that you should be considered against the people who do have it, and even if you're more qualified than them.
Because that's the thing. A lot of companies still require a degree, at least for their first job. They're like, hey, we want someone who's proven they can dedicate 4 years to learn the skill set. And if you don't have, because you could be smarter than people with a degree, but because they require it or suggest it and you don't have it, you have to kind of pull yourself that much more to say, even though I don't have this, here, I know this, and that. I have not only this skill set, but this skill set over here that I learned. I have these proven clients that I worked with on freelancing projects. Yeah, they're that much harder to compensate for the 4 years that someone else dedicated to a degree. It's not their fault or your fault. It's just kind of how the world is.
And that's why they always say or equivalent experience, right? That one little line in there, or equivalent experience.
Exactly.
So like let's say it is an entry level and they're getting somebody who's coming like a year or two out of college and they say they want a degree, and then they say or equivalent experience. So do you have equivalent experience of that whatever they would have learned in college? So it's not impossible, but you just have to work really, really hard. So honestly it's not as easy as, oh, I just go and take this class and then now I'm going to be like just gonna land something like that. It just doesn't work that way. Nothing
Exactly.
works that way in life. Nothing works that way in life.
Like I said, a lot of entitlement. But even just doing projects for your portfolio and having a portfolio to talk about in interviews. Say, I may not have this experience, but I built out this. I created a whole Azure service, and then I had this in DevOps. I use this container. Just having different things to talk about in your resume. So yeah, I built this out. I had these problems. This is how I solved it. I learned this from the project. Versus, yeah, well, I got a certificate that a million other people have. So hire me.
Yeah, and like a lot of people with the certificates, like when I ask them a practical question, I start getting like all this theory. I'm like, all right, so what's the answer to my question? Like the theory is not gonna solve the problem, you know. But talking about like the portfolio, I did a video sometime last year about like building a QA portfolio, right? And I kind of went through the same exact way that you were just mentioning it, right? I don't know if you ever heard of this open source test case management system called Kiwi, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's not like nothing to write home about, but it's something that what I said, the way that did it was they had a Docker image of it, so I set it up with Docker and then logged into it, configured it, and started to like add some test cases, add some test runs, add some defects, just to show like if anything, it shows that you know how to write test cases, you know how to write defects, you know how to do test runs, and you know how to like you have some knowledge about Docker, some knowledge of configuring a system, so that it just shows more than, oh, I'm just gonna use Excel to write these test cases and stuff like that. You just have to, and then it gives you talking points in an interview, right? So, oh yeah, I did this and that, and just need to like you need to sell yourself. And that's the key. The resume you need to sell yourself. The interview you need to sell yourself on why you are better than the other 1,000 people who are applying for the same job.
Exactly. And even because some companies may have a certain tool that you don't have exposure to, but you can exposure to a similar tool.
Hmm.
Let's say they have TestRail or whichever that you need a license for, but I can learn a similar tool and say, oh, that's like this tool. I used it for X, Y, and Z. It's the same concepts, but little just nuances as differences. That can help you say, okay, they don't have the exact experience, but they're kind of close compared to having no experience in that subject matter.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, one of my goals is just to try to give people like more exposure to the things that you're going to be doing. A lot of times they have, like you said, like they have the book knowledge, but as soon as you press them on, right, this is the work that you have to do. Like, for instance, I would expect if you're going to be doing automation, you know about the different data types. And if you have to test something about, like, let's say, testing some type of SQL stuff, right? Or API stuff, like knowing the different data types that you'd be sending and what type of responses you're looking for, stuff like that. But if it's just from the book and like following along a program or an instructor, you're going to have trouble when it comes to the real world.
Exactly. Because in an interview, they're not going to say, well, follow along with me and tell me this answer. They're going to give you a problem and say, what's the solution? And talk me through your thought process for the solution. Don't just make something up. And a lot of times they care about your thought process. You may get the wrong answer, but okay, they can intelligently think and grasp concept. They knew what they were talking about. They use the correct data objects and they use this correctly. They just missed out on this little part here. We can work with them. And just going on that, how do you tell people to be like coachable and handling feedback? Because when you're new to the field, I feel personally you gotta be a sponge. You gotta try to grasp different things. And if anyone's willing to help you, get that help and learn from different people. So it's kind of like your thoughts on getting feedback and handling feedback because sometimes people, I know it all, I don't need your help, versus, okay, I'll listen to you. What I do with the information is up to me.
So honestly, like usually I wouldn't get somebody like that who needs who because they probably already know that and stuff like that. But like honestly, like the way I just share the information with everyone, and I don't I don't really really get involved in like the feelings part of it because at the end of the day, like the facts don't really care about your feelings, you know. But you need to be honest with yourself, right? And if you did know it all, then you wouldn't be reaching out to me. Right. And then and when I get like when you I say, all right, send me your resume, let me see what you have on there. And I'm gonna give you feedback on that. I'm gonna say, all right, this is bad, and this is the parts that you need to work on, these parts you need to enhance. And then like if it's somebody that I'm coaching and they have like interviews coming up, then we'll do like mock interviews and I'll give you feedback on that. I'll record the interview and give you feedback so you can see it for yourself. Like how many times like you start looking around saying and like start shaking and stuff because you probably don't know what you're talking about at the spot. But just exposing where you really are. It's a lot of times it's a time to be vulnerable so you can see like, okay, this is where I'm at. I don't really know as much as I thought I knew. And then you can work on that, right? That's I think any good coach in any sport, any realm that's what they're there to do, right? To show you, okay, this is your like even a personal trainer, right? This is the parts that you're weak on, and this is what we need to work on. Like I will always be available to work with the people that I'm coaching on that, but you have to be able to accept that you're not where you thought you were.
Exactly. And then be willing to make that next step and put in the effort because you as the mentor can do everything. You can get the information, but if they're not actually trying to grasp it and learn from it, then we're wasting each other's time right here.
Like honestly, the way that I coach, like it's a scrum team, right? And I'm like, all right, these are the stories that we have in the sprint. Um and when we don't meet, okay, what happened? Like where did you get stuck? What needs to be done? And I'd rather people fail on like when I'm coaching them than they fail on the job, right? I'd rather you find out that you know what, maybe I thought this was going to be something for me and it's not, instead of like you going and spending all this money, all this time, getting the job and then finding yourself to be miserable. I'd rather make you miserable when it doesn't cost you that much than and then you're and figure it out there, or see that, oh, I really do like this, and I just have to put in this extra work so I can get to where I want to be. But just getting exposure to how it really is. So I try to replicate it as close as possible to like I use the tools that we use for like sprint retros and Jira for starting up a new sprint, giving you exposure to all of that stuff. You have to move your subtasks, you have to close them and all that stuff, give updates, present in the sprint review what you worked on, and what's going, deployments, real live application building so that you can see how it is out there. And it's not even close to what you're gonna be facing, the pressure you're gonna be facing on the job, right? Because here it's a safe environment, but on the job it's not. I mean, there's money on the line. Like you are costing the company money if you mess up. So I'm trying to prevent you from getting to that spot.
Exactly. And learn in advance, fix the little mistakes that cost a company thousands or millions of dollars that may cost you your job. Fix it in a safe space. Get comfortable. Okay, now I know to have positive and negative test scenarios for my test cases instead of just
Mhm.
one happy path. And learning little things like that. Get that out of the way in a safe environment. And then in a real world, oh yeah, I had to do this, do that. You kind of have you want confident, more comfortable.
Exactly. It's all about building that confidence so that, and even if you walk into a situation that you're unsure of, you already have the mindset on how to figure it out. You have that's the confidence part that I like to build, is because if you look at any of my live streams, outside of I mean, even the QA stuff, right? The project that I took on the past few weeks was automating a site using the same site, right? The same flow, Playwright, Cypress, and Selenium in TypeScript. Never used TypeScript before. I messed around with Playwright and Cypress like once or twice, and never really used it in Selenium and JavaScript or TypeScript. But just pushing yourself to the limit to see, okay, how can I figure this out? And once you get into it, say, oh, this is not that bad, right? But you have to go there.
And a lot of people kind of come to me saying they have like imposter syndrome. They're like, I don't think I'm ready. What should I do? Some bitch just jumping in, just believing in yourself, having that confidence. Make that first mistake. Get over it. Learn from it because you're gonna make a mistake. No one's perfect, especially just starting out. Learn how to accept feedback. If a lead or a senior person saying your code can be better written by this, they give you a code review and say, okay, instead of using this method, write like this is cleaner. Saying okay and learning from that instead of next time making that same mistake over and over again. Just, I guess, being coachable in general. That helps a lot in the field, especially if
Yeah.
you're new.
I mean, they're like you can learn from anybody. So always being open is what it is at the end of the day to say, like see, take all the feedback and if it applies, apply it. If it doesn't, then let it go. So it's a simple concept. Like uh, something I always say is that no one cares about you that much, right? No one cares about you as much as you care about yourself. So you'll think that, oh, they're trying to be malicious or they're trying to like hurt your feelings. I'm like, they don't care about you like that. They just see something that's wrong in their eyes and they're letting you know, right? However they express it, they're expressing it that they see something wrong. And now you can really look into it to see if that's the case or not, and then go from there. But you can't be taking it personal and getting all heated and now you want to quit and stuff like that. Oh, I don't want to be in tech no more because this person hurt my feelings. So
That's something I had to go through my career because early on, I'll have code reviews with my team. It would just automatically pass it. Like, oh yeah, cool, it's working. Just pass it. Then I switched jobs. I did a code review with a senior person in a new company. Almost every line, okay, this should be this instead. This for this company we use this casing and these method types. And I'm like, do they just not like me? They're like, what did I I had to learn that just know they have no malicious intent. They're trying to help me if anything so that next time I'll have cleaner, neater code. And I took that mindset. And now today I write cleaner and better code. But if they would just let me years ago just keep writing bad code, who knows where I'll be now?
exactly. Yep, that's totally right. Totally right.
Staying motivated. You touched on that a little bit. Yeah, any other thoughts about staying motivated? How to stay focused if you're just starting out or you're just in a tough spot? Or even better, you just got laid off today. How do you stay motivated?
Well, if you got laid off today, right? So for everybody out there who got laid off today or last week or whatever, right? That means on your calendar, right? Your Google Calendar, you have a whole bunch of 8-hour slots that just opened up, right? Fill them in. Fill them in. Like when I was looking for a job early last year, I had everything scheduled, like the times I was going to be learning new stuff. When I would be like, I had interviews scheduled on there, uh, different things to do. Fill that time up and work like you didn't get laid off, right? And then your hard work will pay off, right? But if you're just going to be applying, like doing the spray and pray apply method and not build up your skills, then you're gonna be one of those people who go for 6 months, a year, and not get anything because you're not bettering yourself.
And that is a real like thing. I have people come to me after a year and a half of being unemployed. And I'm like, well, what'd you do in the past year? I've been applying to jobs. Okay, well, that obviously hasn't been working. Like, what else have you been doing? I'm just applying to jobs. So I'm like, have you seen a common like problem on interviews? Oh, I haven't been getting interviews. So let's start from square one. These jobs you're applying for, like, matter of fact, just send me a resume. Let's start with that. And then send me some of the jobs that you're applying for, and let's compare and contrast and see Where's the gap at? Because theoretically, if you apply for that long to that many jobs, you should at least be getting interviews at this point. And they just applied to limited jobs because they had a limited skill set. So I'm like, okay, problem number one. Your homework now is the next 100 jobs you apply to. Try at least like 10 this week. Write down any tools or languages that you see in common job applications that you currently don't have. Just write it down, make a whole list. And then come back to me after that. And I'm gonna prioritize, okay, this is actually like a real skill versus this skill is just for that company. We're gonna prioritize these skills that are gonna help you long term. Put those in your resume. And they're like, oh, okay. Never heard back. So I don't have a magic answer to just here's what you do. I'm not hiring. I don't know what misbelief people have, but I can't magically give you a job. I can give you the guidance, the knowledge from my experiences, but at the end of the day, y'all put the work in still. I can't be on an interview for you. If I could, I would, but I can't be in a room for this company saying, oh, the answer is this. I can't. You have to be there yourself with the knowledge and confidence to excel in interviews.
So, although I should have known that's how the story was going to end, I didn't see that coming. Because that same thing happens to me, right? I'm like, oh, like this, that, and then you never hear back. I'm like, all right, cool. But that's why you have to focus on the ones who want the help, and I'll share the information with everybody, whether you take it or not. That's I'm good. Like Justin's good, right? We're good. You want to be good too. So and that's why like going to that other part, like about the other way to stay motivated, to way to stay to get mentorship is, or to stay motivated is to get mentorship, get coaching, so that someone who's there, like reach out to the people who are where you want to be, and ask them like, hey, because people in tech, they love to share, right? We are like not the most extroverted people, but when we get to talking about the stuff that we're interested in, we won't shut up, right? Like that's why you can see me go on a 3 hour live for Terraform or something like that. But we don't shut up. So you got to get connected to the people. Get into like different tech groups and meetups and stuff like that to collaborate and see what some people are working on, and maybe you can join in. And you need to get hands-on experience, and find like one thing I try to do is like with the people that I'm coaching, I try to find like startups, because a lot of like a lot of startups who probably aren't qualified to be called startups, they don't have any testing involved, right? And I'm like, I have some testers that I'm training. Um, Maybe they can jump on and actually like not have your app crash and burn like at launch. So I'll actively be looking for those opportunities for the people that I'm coaching, so that they can actually get they can get experience, and the startup can actually have some testing and some recommendation, and I'm like overseeing like my people on that, to make sure like they're like, oh, okay, I need to do this and to do that. I'm like, all right, dude, apply it this way, and in that methodology.
Perfect, perfect. You still have AI to talk about, but I might save that for the next one because that's a whole hour video. And just as
Yeah.
you mentioned, I never had a formal mentor in this field. Now, I've been in this field for a long time. I never had a guy say, okay, hey, Justin, I'm your mentor. No, I saw people who were kind of ahead of me or at where I want to be. And I would just pick their brains, ask them like, hey, well, what's your backstory? What's your experience leading up to here? Where did you go to school? Or where did you learn this tool from? And as you said, in the field, people are very introverted. But if you ask them about themselves and things that they're passionate about, they'll talk for days. So, oh yeah, Justin, thank you. And they see as kind of like a pat on the back that, oh, you see me as being successful. Oh, thank you. And they'll talk to you, they'll befriend you, and go out of their way to help you because you're showing effort and wanting to get help. Instead of being there helpless saying, why is no one here coming to save me? No, take that step in, look for help if you need it.
Yeah, before we wrap up, like exactly what you're saying about, reaching out for help. And I'll tell people too, like when like, let's say you're reaching out on LinkedIn or something, right? And you send them a message and you say, hey, Justin, for instance, hey Justin, I'm interested in QA. I see that you work for the company that you work for, and I see your videos on YouTube. I just want to reach out to an expert in the field to see if I can get some additional insight, and if I ever have some questions, if I can reach out to you. Right? If when they call, like when they call your expert, you're like, oh, of course you can reach out to me, right?
That's
Yeah,
exactly it,
definitely.
though.
So yeah, I mean, you gotta strategize. And like I said, connect with the people who are where you want to be and have the same mindset. They're going in the same direction that you want to go in. And is it guaranteed to work? Nothing is ever guaranteed, but it puts you a lot further ahead than the thousands of people who are running in the same marathon that you are.
Exactly. Learn from some of my mistakes so you don't have to repeat them in your journey. I mean, I get you where I'm at in a year or two, but it'll cut off some months or even some years. Say, okay, Justin mentioned about job hopping versus staying somewhere for 20 years, and I can learn from his experiences or his mistakes. Because that was one of my kind of, I guess, mistakes I had. I'll make a whole video about it, but staying somewhere once I reached my ceiling, I kind of reached my ceiling of growth there, but I kind of was complacent. Like, yeah, I'm comfortable here. It's not stressful. But then I'm like, I'm young. What am I doing? I'm not even motivated to be here. Like, what am I doing right now? I'm not 50, 60 on the end of my journey. I'm in my 20s still. I was in my 20s, but
Yeah,
it's like, man, what am I doing? So just some of those mistakes. Like, don't get too complacent too early.
and one last thing I'll say is build something. If you can show something that you've done, even if you're like teaming up with some other software developer or engineer who's building something and you offer the QA for it, get something in production, right? Something that's going to have users, not some like I remember in the Java, in the web development course I did, we built like some games and stuff like that, but it's not getting into production, right? It's just something that you're doing to learn, but build something that reaches production that's going to have people who are using it and that you can actually talk about that. And because companies want to see, they want to hire people who have actually worked on stuff in production that have users and stuff like that, because that's more meaningful to you when you know that the work that you did, other people are either affected by it or dependent on it and stuff like that. So find a real project that's not going to live in your GitHub to die. A real project that's out there that you can just pull up a website and say, oh yeah, this like I built this or I contributed to building this, and this is how it works. This is why we built it. These are the type of users that we have. This is what we're targeting and stuff like that. And by doing that, one, it's going to be easier to land a job, but two, that thing can take off as well. And now we have a whole nother stream to talk about or video to talk about on that, you know?
Exactly. Like I said, we're gonna do this more often because once you get started talking,
Uh-huh.
an hour just passed.
Yep, exactly. I just noticed it right now.
And I'm like, damn, if we could go into AI or to this, we'll be here till 10, 11 o'clock. But that goes back to getting people to talk about stuff that they're passionate about.
Hmm.
Because when they're passionate about it, time flies by and they'll talk to you forever as long as you want to listen. So
Yeah,
finding senior people who want to talk about their journey, their experiences, invest in that. Get them some coffee or something. Like, hey,
exactly.
let me talk to you real quick for 10 minutes.
Yep, exactly. I agree 100%. So, man, like if you're willing to pay for these courses, you're willing to pay for these boot camps and stuff like that, like pay for some mentorship, pay for some coaching, because like that's where you're gonna that gap is gonna be bridged, Um, and it's gonna be a lot. I'll tell you, it's gonna be a lot cheaper than all those other routes.
That's another thing. People are like, yeah, I don't have thousands to spend. I'm like, you don't need thousands to spend when you're first starting out. You don't even know if you actually like this field or not yet.
Hmm.
Watch some introductory things, see how you feel first before just throwing your credit card at people looking for this magic quick fix.
If I always say like, get a Udemy course on sale for like $15. Get into it, see what you if you like it, and then get some type of like connect with some group of people, try to get some coaching. There's some discords out there that they offer like a bunch of like stuff like they're like nonprofits where they'll help you in your tech journey and stuff like that. um so like there's options out there like to help you save money and time, but you gotta you got to go in there and do it. At the end of the day, it's all going to rely on you. Are you going to do the work or not? And that's why, like, I'm very, I'm very unemotional, I guess, to this stuff because it's really up to you. I'm gonna do what I have to do. I've done what I have to do, but it's really up to you whether you're gonna do it or not. And I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Like you might be mad and throw a tantrum and stuff like that, but I'm gonna sleep just fine unless I wrote failing code and then I went to sleep. Then I might not sleep that well.
Exactly. But you and I, we did what we had to do to get to this spot. We're gonna try to help you, but we can't force you. We can lead you to the water, but can't force you to drink it.
Exactly.
But perfect. Once again, before you leave, what's your information, your YouTube channel, your website, everything?
Cool. So YouTube, it's Tech Coach Ralph. You just put that in on YouTube and you will see all the videos that I create. We have live streams, we have pre-recorded videos, all of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we have the coaching. If you want some coaching, you can check out my Patreon, www.techcoachralph.dev, and you can sign up for exclusive content over there, as well as sign up for one-on-one coaching with a higher tier, and we'll get to work. Like I said, all I do is work. You see what I do on YouTube, right? All I do is work, and I'm gonna put you to work too, so that you can get to the skill set that you desire to be.
Perfect. Like I said, we're gonna do this more often. I don't want to say today's date because I don't know when this is going out, but we're in February still. This will be out hopefully early March, but if not every 2 months, at least once a quarter, we're gonna touch base because they need more people besides me on my channel saying things. So it's not just Justin being an angry old man saying get off my lawn. No, it's hard work to actually be in this field and stay in this field. Don't
Yeah,
always
and it's different type of content too. Like just you have one type of content that the way that you do it, I do it a different way. And I'll send people like, hey, Justin has this type of content. You can go check it out if you can come here. Whatever it is, like our goal is for you to learn, right? And we're just putting out the information. So um whatever it is that you need, you know where to find us.
exactly. That's why I don't mind having you here because I have a certain teaching style perspective that I like, but it may not be everyone's cup of tea. They may say, I like some of Justin's videos, but who else is out there? Now they're introduced to you. They say, oh yeah, I like his live streams, or this better. Let me use him now. Our goal is just to help you excel in your career. Be that middle person between where you're at now and where you want to be and bridging that gap.
100%.